Chris hasn't Chris hasn't been uploading in a while. This is an random musings from a somewhat irate co-host. Chris, this is probably this show is probably 70% your idea, 30% mine. Yet the content is probably inverted.
70-30, you think?
You have all these videos you have yet to upload. Your interesting stories with lemon laws, people would really enjoy. When you do post, people love it.
Yeah,
You got
I'm
all these opinions.
I'm fully aware.
Yet the last video I've seen from you is 3 months ago saying they think we're morons.
So I'm being lambasted, huh?
So I watched that one and I thought, okay, but there's more here than this. Like, I know there's more in you, man.
Oh, sure. I've. It's funny. I go to the gym and I'm bored while doing the aerobic crap. So I think of ideas for videos, and I probably have at least 20 video ideas where I've even created an outline while I'm doing this aerobic stuff. I've yet to do one of them.
Well,
So
didn't you recommend a book to me? Why don't you just review? Do you want the channel to be book reviews or are you going a
no,
different route?
no,
That could be just my part then. Dan's
sure,
corner. Dan's
sure.
corner.
There you
Book
go.
reviews. Okay, I got one today. I might do. I actually have a couple. I've been
So
reading daily. My antidote to Chris's doom scrolling is stoicism. And it's actually been very helpful.
yeah,
I just read you a passage.
sure.
I actually highlighted more. This morning I was gonna send you more, but then I was running late for our pod with Kirk from Profit Cookers. Amazing pod, by the way. You guys check it out. Uh, Listen to this one, okay? This is from Seneca, written in, I believe, 200 BC. Do me the favor, when men surround you and try to talk you into believing that you are unhappy, to consider not what you hear, but what you yourself feel, and to take counsel with your feelings and question yourself independently, because you know your own affairs better than anyone else. Ask, is there any reason why these people should want me to fear? Why should they be worried or even fear some infection from me, as if troubles can be transmitted? What I advise you to do is not to be unhappy before the crisis comes, since it may be that the dangers before, which you paled as if they were threatening you, will never come upon you. They certainly have not yet come. Accordingly, some things torment us more than they ought, some torment us before they ought, and some torment us when they ought not to torment us at all. We are in the habit of exaggerating or imagining or anticipating sorrow. Wise words from 200 BC.
So
Very applicable to 2024 AD.
certainly, I would say that's applicable to all years, but I
Of
think it's
course,
I think
timeless.
it's also kind of dismissive as well. So should a farmer of 1500 should they not be concerned about the weather or their crops,
No, they
whether
should. They should.
so I'm not sure if that was if I kind of take it as dismissive. Um, I think you should me personally, I think your life should be a risk reward analysis, right? Should I consider this? Is there enough risk here, or is
Right.
there more
Right.
reward in not?
Another quote. There are more things likely to frighten us than there are to crush us. We suffer more often in imagination than in reality.
I'm going to give a shout out to Joey Finro. Um,
Christian of the year.
so
His
in
faith is rock solid, by the way. I gotta give him that
sure,
much.
certainly,
He won't even
and
consider things
outside of
outside of
sure.
that framework.
So, and in that context, I think Jesus says that no one knows the time or day except the Father, so be prepared for the end, right? Which is a good philosophy, in my opinion, to all of life,
Yeah.
right? Be prepared.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's kind of dismissive from what you read. Because I think if you just dismiss all concerns, then there's no way you can be prepared.
Well, I think the Stoics philosophy hinged on people will never get rid of all their concerns, but effort doesn't need to be made into making more concerns. Effort
Oh,
needs to be made
oh,
into
certainly,
reducing concerns
certainly.
because there are more things that you can imagine will harm you than they actually can.
Oh, certainly. And of course, in that framework, um, you have to be realistic
But if you
because
look at these news stories and people are now playing with people's emotions, manipulating from both sides.
so that hasn't changed in 50 years. Like that's gone back to when I was
Right. It's
couldn't
actually
remember
gonna
being a
get
kid.
it's gonna get worse because these publications, these media, they don't care if people get along. They want divisiveness because it means more readership and bigger camps on their side. And
Well, just the more emotional you make people,
yeah.
the more response you get, right?
And
Both
that
in
stoicism philosophy is to bring be rational versus emotional. That's like in one sentence what the purpose is of that, which is
certainly.
has been in my life very hard to do, but with enough work, I can make it. I have been making improvements in this last few years. I've been reading these things. So I still get emotional, but less, a little less so now. It's interesting when you could catch yourself too.
Well, and that's where it's interesting, at least in my opinion. Once you allow emotion to take hold, it makes it more difficult to make a good decision.
Oh yeah, impossible, I would say.
Well, I don't know about impossible, but definitely more difficult. And the more emotional you are, the more difficult it is.
Yeah.
If you're out of your mind with emotion, right? You're irate,
Yeah.
seeing red, you're not going to make a good decision,
Right.
right?
Or panicked or
Yep. Yeah, panic
sad.
attack, not a good, you're not going to make a good decision.
Hmm.
So the more emotional, less likely of a good decision, most certainly.
Yeah, so hopefully this stuff ends after the election, and people get back to their reasoning. And I mean, Kamala wins, life goes on. Trump wins, life goes on.
Well, most certainly life will not end.
Well, certainly life will end for everyone anyways.
No, I mean because of one of them being elected president, life will not end. You will not abruptly, if you're opposed to
Cease
that
to
person,
exist.
yeah, you will not abruptly cease to exist.
I'm sure there'll
That's
be some people killing themselves.
you think? Seriously?
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
This
You
stuff's
think
gotten way too out of hand, man.
you think people are that emotional that they would kill themselves? I mean, it's one thing back during
I don't think
there's image
people are all well in the head, and this
well,
this kind of fuel by irresponsible parties is not helping the cause.
there there's pictures of during the crash in 1929 of the stock market of people jumping out of their windows because they had invested every dime.
Yeah,
And people have hanging themselves.
yeah, yeah.
But there's that's different, at least in my opinion, because not that I would kill myself if I were those people, but to lose every penny, right? You're now going to be homeless. You have to go home to your family and say, we have nowhere to go. We've
Yeah,
lost everything. They're taking the coward's way out. But
yeah,
nonetheless, there's more logic behind that than killing yourself over because of somebody who became president.
right. Yeah.
More logic, at least in my mind. So are you saying people are illogical now?
Oh yeah, on both sides, man. The articles you send, some of them are come just fake news. And then what from MSM, a lot of them are fake news as well. Like people are not even dealing in reality and they're reading tabloid stuff and basing their worldview on tabloids from their camp. From their camp. So it's really has become wrestling 2020.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of things that have what I would counter to that is I don't necessarily agree with everything you're saying because
Well, you don't
my
have to. And
my shirt alone.
I love your shirt too.
So recall
I haven't seen
COVID.
the bottom though. Can you stand up real quick?
You recall the bottom, right?
Wait, can
Sorry,
you stand
recall
up
the
and then
bottom.
twerk
You
after?
you you recall COVID, right?
Because all my old ones came true.
You recall COVID
Of
and
course.
how everything that was being said by one side was said to be not true, conspiratorial,
Right.
ignore, you will lose your channel
Right.
if you're on YouTube.
Yep.
Um, all of that's been proven true, at least to some
Not
extent now.
all, but a lot of it was.
Okay, well, maybe I'm exaggerating all, but let me rephrase, vast
Those
majority.
similar people said the world's population will halve by 2020.
No, I never heard that.
Dr. Joe brought it up many times, sent us
I
texts.
literally have never heard that. Half by
It
2024?
doesn't matter if you heard it or not, they've been spreading in our
Well,
circles.
yeah, I've never heard that. I don't recall ever hearing that.
I'll find that text and screenshot it.
Okay. My point is that to say that I mean, I would think as an Alex Jones fan, you would understand what you're saying isn't exactly true. It may
I
be conspiratorial now, but
Alex Jones is the godfather of this, right? But the way I consume him is more entertainment, and he is right on many things because his antics are really what's
sure,
the
it's entertaining.
conspiracy. Yeah, but a lot of the stuff he said, like the frogs are gay, okay, that was it was a funny way to say
They're
it, but
turning the frogs gay.
right, what he meant was atrazine. But if he talks about atrazine, no one's really listening. So he's
Sure.
talking about, just in words that normal America, it's unfortunate, but need to understand. And that's fine. That's one brand of it, but most people don't take Alex Jones seriously.
Hmm.
But
I don't.
like these random news articles portray themselves to be legit that are saying crazy things turn out to be fake, you know. I mean, once in a while they'll be right, but it's excessive anxiety and excessive panic in the masses, and it's not doing anything to bring us back to a more virtuous country.
I again would argue COVID.
Yeah, COVID. I mean,
There was a lot of misinformation
the
that was
lab
deep.
leak theory was you were considered excommunicated if you utter those words. Now it's basically a fact, all but a
Right.
fact. So there's a lot of that too, and I understand, and that's why the most powerful lies are rooted in truth.
Yeah. My point is until you have so it would be nice if there was a place you could go that everything was said was true. That place does not exist.
Yeah, because
You have to confirm.
the truth is hard to come by. It's very costly to come by. The truth is also not a good business model.
So in journalism, there used to be a rule that everyone followed. This was decades ago. You
Yeah.
had to have three independent confirmations of a story.
Yep.
Three. That is no longer the case by any
Right.
means, any
Right.
stretch. I heard this, I'm going to repeat it.
Well,
That's the
that's why
news now.
I was very happy when Dr. Joe, who I mentioned earlier, came to his senses and sent us that article, The 72-Hour Rule. So before you get hysterical and start sharing links with everyone you know, and 2% of those people will actually fact check it,
Mhm.
you should wait 72 hours for it to die down. I like that when he sent that. We actually have a podcast coming up with Dr. Joe on the duality of virtue, I believe. Something he wanted to do. That shows needs to start making a ROI, man. I told him we got to talk about it at some point. You and I are co-producing that show.
Yeah, we definitely need to figure that out.
He's got a couple of books in him though. So I think there's something there.
Certainly. And they could be very unique and interesting books depending on the perspective he takes.
Yeah, well, we got to figure that out soon. I've been thinking about it myself as well. The path to monetization for a YouTuber. See, his channel is the microcosm of our conversation. The truth is not ROI positive from a business sense in the short term. Nobody wants the real truth. It's boring. The truth is complicated. The truth requires the learner to do work. Nobody wants that. People want
Certainly.
fast food. Homeless people are living in Disney because everyone can understand that it's easily digestible. I don't got to do any work. This website looks credible. The real truth, atrazine causes a reuptake of estrogen, which leads to that takes work. Peer-reviewed articles. You got to dig in the trenches. The appetite for that is not there. The appetite right now is for fighting. Give me ammo so I can prove to my stupid friends that they are wrong.
So you think that's what the perspective Dr. Joe's taking?
No, Dr. Joe's channel has always been rooted in finding the truth, and that's why it's taking longer to monetize it.
Oh, okay.
That's my argument with that. Because That is in the pursuit of truth from this concept of like health and wellness. Ours is in the pursuit of truth from the perspective of disagreeing points, meeting together, finding some common ground, just like we did with Joey over 2 hours. We basically
Well,
distilled that into good, evil, and free will, and we even couldn't figure that out. It's
I
gonna
yeah,
take a lot of time.
I don't know if we have an agreement yet.
Exactly. So where's the business model in that? There's not.
Well, it's considering different arguments,
Right, but
different
my
different
point
perspectives.
is the macro point I have is that's a great idea on paper. That's not a viable business because the market's going to decide if it's a viable business. And I'm convinced if we keep doing this long term, Dr. Joe Show, Chris and Dan, and we stay true to our roots and don't get into doom scrolling and stuff, we will get rewarded. But in the short term, that first 5 years, whatever, there's no business there. People want that quick. Even our shorts. Our shorts, the only ones that do well are polarizing stuff.
Well,
The last one that got over 9,000 views was your Second Amendment one, where people are either all for it or all against it, right? There's no debate. There's no let's use logic to find talking points. There's not a business model for that. So to answer your question on why that doesn't exist, and it would be nice, is because there's no business model. There's no ROI for that.
well, and I would say that's probably true, but it's also a reflection of our current culture.
Yeah, yeah,
We were just talking about this with Kirk, how everybody has ADHD now.
yes, yes.
So they don't want to
Everybody.
stick around for. It surprises me as popular as Joe Rogan is because it's usually 2 or 3 hours.
Yeah,
And I would only assume if has a younger audience at all, those people are also on their phone doing
yeah,
other things. Like
yeah.
with me, if I listen to Joe Rogan, it's while I'm working.
Well, yeah, me
I'm
too.
half listening.
Driving, shower, gym, unless it's a very interesting guest, but we're in the minority. But you know what does very well on Joe Rogan? His shorts. The 1 minute
Sure,
things that go on TikTok,
sure.
and then MSM uses that of context to say he's anti this, he's pro this, when in reality, the truth, which you are always seeking, is much more complicated and much more nuanced than just a yes or a no, or a one or a zero.
Well, one thing I would propose is I don't think people are going to become less ADHD over the next few decades, which poses a problem to long form content.
Yeah, but then the market's going to decide, right? Because long form content's doing very well.
But I would guess it's older people. Millennials are older,
I
no?
think what it is multitasking. So they are working out while listening, and then it's
Sure.
3 or 4 gym sessions, and they've listened to a whole episode, or 10 showers, or 5 trips to work. That's
Yeah.
how I break mine up.
Yeah, no, like I said, I just because I get bored just listening to my own thoughts in my head while I'm typing and
Yeah.
answering email, I have something in the background.
Hmm.
Otherwise, I don't know. It feels I don't know how to explain it because I work alone at home.
Yeah.
I feel lonely, kind of. If I have
Yeah.
something playing in the background, it alleviates that, right? It's like being at the office
Well,
with other people.
Chris and the intro can alleviate some of that loneliness.
For others, sure. I don't want to listen to myself talk, so
I feel like the audience, we're a struggling channel. We have almost 4,000 subs. Should get an update on
path.
we've kind of done away with the music. We still love music, but I already know what Chris gonna like. He knows what I'm gonna like. It's no longer fun.
No, you said your tastes have kind of changed as of late. In a text to
Yeah,
Robert.
they've actually changed. I've been into more like kind of Coldplay stuff. Um, Kings of Leon. That's number one. Number two, the quality of those things is not great. We need to be in the same place to do it. Number
Hmm.
three, there's a lot more ROI on the interviews we do. Like those are higher value keywords than
Oh, certainly.
a little flip, you know? Like restaurant business is higher probably by a order of magnitude than a little flip song. Um,
And I think
and
where you're concerned, I think it adds more value to society as a whole.
that too, and number four of the real reason we started was we were gonna debate truth. Like we were gonna seek truth somehow.
Hmm.
on this channel. And even if no one else achieves more truth other than us, I think it's worth it. But I think there are people, based on the comments, that there are a few that do appreciate it and they actually encourage us to do more. So
Yeah, I don't
Zillahawk was
disagree.
one. I think Zillahawk was one that won money once on a song, and they're still sticking around and watching the,
The more updated format and content.
yeah, especially the deeper religious ones and philosophical ones. And then I'm a fan of business, and so are you. So those are easy for us to do. So we'll be doing a lot more of that stuff. If you don't like it, unsubscribe. I know you guys subscribe for Nightwish. I know they're from Iceland.
Is that right?
No,
It's not Norway
right.
or Finland. It's one of
Yeah.
those, isn't it?
Who cares?
Oh, wow. You want them to unsubscribe. They get pissed off and stuff like that.
I'm just messing. But yeah, that's the new route the show's going, and that's why the truth is not free. The truth is not easy, and the truth is costly, actually.
Well, certainly at least in time.
Yeah. So that's it. Just a little
Where I
summary.
fully agree with you, Dan. You can't just take for granted that what you're being fed is true. You usually want to double check.
And not just double check anymore either.
No, this is true. You need to pick up the slack of what used to be considered journalism. You need three independent confirmations of a story.
Right. And a TikTok video is not one.
No, I would say you need three independent sources, which none of them are reliable anymore. But if you get three independent sources, like I don't know, one from MSM, one from
Reuters.
maybe YouTube, one from some other known place that's not just regurgitating the source
Right.
that you've already used, that's good. You probably,
Community notes feature on X has been actually pretty good.
yeah, I've even seen some complaints about that though, where they leave something out. Like, yes, what they're saying is true, the community feature, but they're leaving something out. Right. I've
Right.
seen that a few times.
And why is that? Because the truth is nuanced. It's not so simple. People
Mm,
think truth is simple. It's not simple. It's nuanced.
well, it
Especially when you're
depends.
discussing complicated things. If you're discussing things like good and evil, basic fundamentals,
Oh yeah, that's
it becomes
fair.
more simple, but it's more simple to
Mm,
the individual, not necessarily
s-
to a
s-
group.
Oh, so I would say discussing good and evil is way more nuanced. Um, Whereas something very simple, less so, right?
Good
And
and
what I
evil
mean
to a society, as to an individual, good and evil should be easy to point out.
depends on the individual and the culture from which they derived.
Yeah, but everyone should have their own moral compass, I think.
No,
Well, everyone does, anyways. So,
right. But they need to live by the framework of the cultural, right?
in our current
Established?
society, yes,
What's established?
correct.
Because maybe if you come from a culture where they're not accepting or promoting your religious beliefs, you should be able to kill them, right?
Yeah,
Which is promoted kind of in the Old Testament of the Bible. So I don't know if that'd fly over so well in America. You're telling me because they didn't
probably
believe
not.
your religion, you killed them,
Probably
right?
not. Probably not.
So
It's
good
very
and evil is
nuanced.
defined by culture. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying.
But anyways, thought it would be good. See you guys soon in a little bit.
A little bit.
I think later this week. I don't know.
No, we don't have anything until the week of the 28th.
Yeah, we'll
Chris
get
and Dan
something
show.
else. Every day, two people email to do something. So we'll have something.
Something.
Like, subscribe, comment, share, guys. Bye
All right.
bye.
Bye bye.